Okay, a couple of things I want to go over here real quickly, some ideas on how to define racism. Before I go over this PowerPoint, there's two things I want to point out. In Blackboard, in the syllabus folder, you will find, and I think it's actually in week one, you should find a document on success in race, how to succeed in this course. And one of the things that I wanted to point out there is to have an open and positive attitude towards the readings. Approach them constructively. Don't come at the readings with the idea that you need to nitpick everything apart. That's not a sign of true intelligence. And I actually see that more among graduate students, that they feel that in order to look intelligent, they've got to find something negative to say about this piece, and they don't even read carefully. They just go in there and they try to find something negative so that they can say something critical and sound intelligent in class. What I want to see is that you come to the reading with the perspective of you might not agree with everything in the readings. They might not have gotten everything right, but these people have gone through a very tedious, these are all academic, peer-reviewed publications. They have to know something about what they're talking about. So come at it with the attitude of what can I learn? Don't get too, there's the saying, see the forest for the trees. Don't get too hung up on the trees, right? Don't nitpick at all the details. True intellectual reading of a piece, an article or chapter, has to do with the ability to read that piece, step back from it. After you're done reading, you should be able to say, these are the key questions. These are the key concepts. So don't nitpick at the trees. Be able to see the forest, the big picture, but also you should be able to pick out which trees are important, right? Which trees to take to build, which building blocks are important, which concepts are important, and which to throw away. What are the major questions the author is asking? Do they answer those questions by the end of the piece? What do you learn from them? That should be your goal for every reading, okay? So it's very easy to offer cookie cutter critiques of books and articles because nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. It takes much more intelligence to learn from books, to figure out what it is you're supposed to be learning from them rather than attacking them. So I'm interested in thoughtful discussion, um, more productive, intelligent discussion. Again, everything that we read this semester has gone through an academic review process. The course material is challenging because we talk a lot about the sad topics of and harsh realities of racism, past and present. So it is challenging in that sense. Some students have told me that they've cried during some of the films, especially when we look at the graphic details of Native American genocide. It is a very challenging experience, and it can be very depressing at times and overwhelming. But I guarantee you, if you stick with it, it is a wonderful experience by the end. Students do tend to get a lot out of learning this material, even though it's very difficult. I've taught this course for several years now, and it's a struggle, right? It's hard, but again, if you're committed to learn, you will get something from this course. Okay, so let's look at the definition here of racism, how to define racism. Here are two definitions that will help you. I always ask students in the face-to-face course what's important about defining racism, and number one, it's to not dummy it down to just prejudice. It is not just prejudice. Anyone can be prejudiced. What racism is a system of oppression, a highly organized system of race-based group privilege that operates at every level of society and is held together by a sophisticated ideology of color race supremacy. Racist systems include but cannot be meaningfully reduced to racial bigotry. Prejudice is something separate. That's micro level stuff. That's individual level stuff. That's part of the larger system, but it's not the full. It doesn't constitute the whole system. It's a part that contributes to the larger system. Joe Fagan defines it as a centuries-old system intentionally designed to exclude Americans of color from full participation in the economy, polity, and society. So those are two definitions you should keep in mind this semester. We will also learn in this course how racism affected European ethnic groups, the Irish, Italians. We'll learn that these ethnic groups were not always viewed as white, not in the way that we view them today, but were granted a status over African Americans and Asians, and eventually were fully accepted into the quote-unquote white race. Hence, we'll learn that race is not real or biological, it's a social construction. Whiteness is socially constructed, so is blackness. But to say that race is not real is not to say that it isn't real in its consequences. Some of you may have heard this before, the Thomas theorem. What is constructed as real is real in its consequences. the construction of whiteness and blackness have very real consequences for those who fall within and between those categories. Historically, ethnic groups vied for what were called the wages of whiteness. People of various ethnic groups would go to court to try to prove that they were white because they knew that all that was good and pure and right was associated with whiteness. The opposite was the case with blackness. So this history has very real consequences on people's lives today. We continue to see it, right? There's a higher infant mortality rate for African Americans than European Americans, regardless of income. We continue to see an ever-expanding wealth gap between African Americans and European Americans that is also not explained by class. It's not explained by income level, education, age, type of occupation. Even when controlling for all of those factors, European Americans hold at least 4 times the amount of wealth of African Americans. Those are just a few examples. We also will learn this semester how racism as a system in the construction of whiteness and blackness works to divide the population, people of color from each other, and European Americans from people of color. We'll learn what it means to be a race traitor and how to engage in anti-racist social action. So as your syllabus states, this again, it's not a course about race relations or diversity or tolerance or cultural understanding. We go beyond those ideas, and in fact, we critique them. I'm going to put in this PowerPoint a link to a talk by Tim Wise that I often use in class. Since we're not meeting on Wednesday, we don't have a chance to view it in class, but I'll put it there. It gives you an overview of some of these concepts that we're talking about here. So I look forward to meeting you all in person on Wednesday. If you have questions, please email me at the address on the syllabus or my Baruch address. But read the syllabus and course calendar first, because most of your questions will probably be answered there. Complete the introductions assignment as soon as you can. Read all the materials in the Week 1 folder. Read the pages from the Desmond chapter, from Chapter 1, and make sure you either bring a copy of that article or at least good notes on it. See you then.